Hey guys, how you guys doing this
You know
morning?
what? There he is, my fellow brother with the safety orange on. I love your view on safety. Ralphie, like me, we're sleeping in with the bright colors on. We have our underoos on, going to bed to make sure that everyone knows 24 hours a day. Ralph, we got to be safe, right?
That's correct, always, and that's the most important part of it is safety first. Remember that, and and not only that, guys, but we still COVID's still out there. People are still wearing masks. We still have to be safe, and that's something that we have to push on everybody. People think that it's over, and hey, we can put our guard down. We still have to keep our guard up to prevent, and that way we can avoid just going into a worst case scenario like we've seen in the past. But yeah, glad to be here, guys.
Now, glad to have you. Hey, Ralph, we have a lot of news going around the country right now regarding the ports. The ports, East Coast, West Coast, they're backed up everywhere. When it goes to that port of Los Angeles and Long Beach, they're talking about President Biden as well getting involved, saying we've got to open these up 24 hours a day. We need the drivers to participate. We need the shippers, the receivers, the warehouses. The folks unloading the boats as well. Everybody has to participate. Hey, Ralph, when it comes to a 24-hour operation, when it comes to all of a sudden working at nighttime as an operator out there, with the ships, man, are there some additional challenges that come in from fatigue that you've seen with that Panama Canal?
Well, as a matter of fact, I went out to California here a few months back, and I did see the backlog out there at Long Beach. That's where I was. There's a few things. The Panama Canal got expanded for a reason. Now we have these neo ships that are almost twice the size as the original ships. What does that incur? That means that the ships that come to the port are larger. They take a longer time to offload, and that's one of the factors happening right now in California and other places where we were expecting the ships to, at a normal Panamax average ships that they were unloaded, which the time frame was great. However, here comes these new neo ships. Now it's twice the size, twice the offload factor, and now it's a backlog out there in California. And you figure with this 24-hour operation that Biden said in September that we have to get this so we can advance it to get it to offload quicker. Did that make it quicker? Did that make it safer? I personally believe that it's not a quicker thing that's been done. Here we see the truckers. They offload everything faster because they're working more hours, they're working later hours. But what happens with the trucker that gets that? He approaches the port, he gets that load at 10 at night. Now he's got to leave there at 4 in the morning. Are any warehouses open? Or where does he go? Because now here's the factor, like you were saying earlier. Yeah, he's not used to working a shift, and now here we come to this night shift that we have to be over there because we have to try to offload all these items for the customer. However, here I am at the port working odd hours. I'm getting my cargo. I'm driving it to a supposedly warehouse that I'm supposed to go offload, but the warehouse isn't open. These are the things that we have to pretty much think about. Oh wow, we got help. We got a 24-hour offloading operation, but in the sense, it's not helping as quick as people think. However, we still have to be pretty much prepared to go forward and make it work for the people. Yeah, that's those are issues that are happening out there.
Yeah, and something we spoke about yesterday as well is that these ports on the East Coast and the Gulf Coast, they're sending all their empties as well going out to California. Okay, now we think about that. You're right. All these empties are coming in, and Port of California, they can't take those as well right now in their ports. They run out of spaces. They run out of time. They cut them off, and the driver's going in there with an empty container to drop it off. He or she, they're unable to get inside these yards. And now, Drive Safe Dave, we start unloading a little bit later. Now we're going to 24 hours a day. Well, when we're doing more freight, that's going to create more empties as well coming back into. And if we're already backlogged, if we can't take the empties that we already have, well, how are we supposed to take all of these trailers that are getting unloaded at nighttime, now these containers that have to come back? It's going to, again, I still see it as creating a bigger backlog as long as these empties if we can't fulfill the empty trailers today in the port, well, how are we going to unload more and take more on? That's a question I have and something we've got to think about as well. Hey, Ralph, what are your thoughts? When you're out there at that port, did you get a chance to go out there and just see all of the chaos that must exist out there on the ports?
Well, you figure that they had a record. I see the news and people are like, there's 500,000 ships out there. No, there's not. There's 500,000 containers. That is a fact. At the backlog, at the most, when a ship arrives to the port, it usually takes about an average of about 3 to 4 days. Approach, get to shore, offload, and continue. However, they're looking at 30 days per ship now of backlog out there. That trickles to the fact that it's going to be going on to 2022, maybe 2023. It's a big backlog of things that are happening now out there. Also, you figure that the ships that are out there, they were averaging maybe 20, 30 ships on the offshore. There's a record of 100 or plus ships out in the ocean right now, especially in the port of Long Beach, waiting to come in to offload. That's a big backlog, and this in turn, it's a trickle effect to everybody else that's on land. People are seeing a shortage right now of wood. People are seeing a shortage right now of appliances. Are they on the ship? Are we waiting for that? Here now we have to pretty much get together with everybody in the country and say, hey, look, it's not going to hurry up the process if we try to get the ship on land and try to offload it on a 24-hour cycle. Because like you're saying, they're going out there over empty, and are they coming full or are they coming all complete? And where do they go after they get the merchandise and then go to their supposedly last stop? Can they get there on time? And there's the other factor. Are they meeting the deadlines? That's the key thing. There's a lot of people waiting for those deadlines, and then the people aren't meeting them.
I got a question for you. When you have these huge pressures and these new deadlines that are incurred and felt by every employee and everybody at the port, just like they did at the Panama when they went to a 24-hour, how important it is that the safety directors push back against management or against other people to make sure that safety is priority and number one. How important or what are the steps that taken to make sure that safety is involved all the way up? Because, when you start talking about pressures and times and quotas and numbers, sometimes people start to think of, maybe push that to the side. How important is that? And what is it steps taken to make sure that's not done?
Well, you got to figure, here we have the worker that's at the port. He's offloading the containers. He's not used to working all these hours. Their hours are usually 7 a.m., 8 p.m. They don't have the sun goes down around that time. Now here comes the factor of working at night. What's the key element? Training. Here we have to train these people. We have to make sure that they're aware of how they work at night. They have limited visibility. Here they are. It's a safety factor. They have to pretty much work on hours when they're fatigued. So you're pretty much coaching them. You're training them. You're retraining so that they're aware of how to work under this type of circumstances, especially when you're working odd shifts that you're not used to working with. So those are key elements that we have to pretty much go to the worker and let them know, hey, these are factors that you're not used to, but you have to get used to.
Yeah, I mean,
so the training is a big key.
Yeah, and the support to folks, Ralph, when you talk about the World Safety Organization, you have to have the support. The safety directors at these locations have to have the support from the management, ownership, directors, or whatever that is to make sure that's drive safe, Dave said, and that we're operating safely first and foremost, that we place value even on the lives of those working in the port, not just drivers, but everybody. We must place value on life because it only takes a mistake to end the life of somebody at one of these ports. Some frustrations that I can also imagine going back to the ship count that you were talking about is, well, now we see all of these companies going out and leasing their own ships. And not only do you have the mega ships coming in, you also now have the little smaller ships that are carrying 5 or 10,000 containers, because if there's an available ship out there for whatever reason, even though it's not going to get unloaded, we're going to lease that ship, load it up, and bring it here somewhere to wait out there in the bay. So it's a lot of frustration, a lot of pressure on everyone out there in the port, I can just imagine.
Absolutely. And then you figure the way that we're working during the daytime here, we have, enough sufficient light to be able to see everything. At night, it becomes a big factor offloading those giant containers, especially when you're talking about these tower cranes that they're unloading and they're going at a speed. And the operator of the crane also, he's got limited visibility. He's got to use lights. He's got to make sure that everybody that's on the ground is cooperating with him. And, the radio, forget about the hand signals at night. Here we are talking on the radio. What happens if the battery goes down? A lot of safety factors are involved. And this is something that I know that the safety directors on each port are pretty much on hand with the safety team involved. You're probably going to have more safety personnel at night than you will during the day, just to make sure everything is offloaded safe.
All right, Ralph, and we also had a question here from one of our drivers. Brian Winsauer, what do you got for us today, sir?
Good morning, sir. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Hey, my question, I understand that this may or probably won't fall within your direct area of focus, but you probably know the answer. I read recently that ships going through the canal have to, by whatever rules, have to utilize properly certified by the canal pilots to guide them through the channels. And I'm just curious, we all heard about the ship that got stuck, and that captain, was kind of made a fool of globally for running his ship aground. But why wouldn't this required Panama Canal certified pilot have not carried some of that blame?
Well, you figure that I know which ship you're talking about that almost hit the bridge, which it actually did touch the bridge on the bow of that ship. Sometimes the ships themselves, if they have some sort of mechanical function that goes awry, or the ship, in this instance itself, the ship was coming around the bend of the cut. He was supposed to make a hard left. The actual rudder got stuck. So the mechanical issue that the ship had, and the pilot's awareness and trying to do whatever to avoid going through the bridge, did put some pressure on him. However, if the ship has some sort of mechanical issues in the canal itself, they do have protocols for that. You hear 4 long beeps for 4 long horns on the ship. It's a distress signal. Right away, the tugs that are in the area are going to come and approach it. And that ship in particular did have some tugs that were in the stern of it. And so they were able to go thrust backwards to avoid a worse collision than what it did. And these things happen. They don't happen all the time, but when they do happen, the pilot is the one that's at the helm, and the pilot is the one that has that, all that stress to be able to deal with it after the fact. And then it's not necessarily 100% pilot error in this instance. However, mechanical errors and pilot decisions are key for making it safe. And yeah, good question there.
All right. Thank you for that, Ralph. Hey, great question as always, Mr. Brian Winsauer. Hey, Ralph, I want to thank you for being on BCB Live. We're the safest station in the nation. Hey, Ralph, I want to make sure that you're continue to do your part as well to make this country, to make this world a little bit safer than what we found it yesterday. I appreciate you for your knowledge and your participation and your just your excitement around safety. You know what? You're my blood brother.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you. And it's great to be on the show. The safest station in the nation. It's always fun to be here.
All right. Thank you for that, Ralph.